Hello, Kanurit Beat. My name is Paula Siksik, and I work at the Alaska Native Heritage Center. Alaska Native culture in the modern context. Objectives: modern history of Alaska Native organizations. A sense or perspective on urban and rural life today for Alaskan Natives. The rich tapestry of Alaska Native culture spans the extensive coastline, the expansive river deltas, and interior river environments that make up the state of Alaska. While coming from varied and distinct origins and traditions dating back thousands of years, Alaska Natives have met the modern era with common interests, sharing many well-documented challenges and events. The arrival of Russian and European explorers and traders to the territory marked a transformation in the lives of Alaska Natives. The Russians established trading posts and companies in some coastal areas, and interacted mainly with the Aleut residents in southwest Alaska, and the Tlingit in southeast. Other European, Canadian, and American companies established trading companies throughout the territory. These changes were relatively limited in scope until after the United States purchased Alaska from Russia in 1867. Throughout the late 1800s and early 1900s, non-natives began to settle permanently in greater numbers throughout Alaska. The gold rush in Canada's Yukon and Alaska at the turn of the century brought many prospectors from the lower 48 northward to stake their claims and seek their fortunes. Coming into the 20th century, opportunities to participate in the cash economy were rather limited for Alaska Natives. The resulting inequity in land use and management of resources created conflicts among residents, and made it more difficult for Alaska Natives to subsist. In 1947, Tlingit and Haida groups in southeast Alaska began filing suit against the federal government in order to obtain title and ownership to land and its resources. By the 1960s, Alaska Natives throughout the state had followed suit and filed claim to nearly the entire 366 million acres of land within Alaska. This created a complication because the newly formed state of Alaska had been granted 104 million acres under the Alaska Statehood Act of 1958. In 1966, the U.S. Secretary of the Interior established a land freeze, which temporarily halted the process of patenting state land selections. This was done to preserve the status of Alaskan lands until native claims were settled. The discovery of oil reserves at Prudhoe Bay in 1968 made it necessary for oil developers and state officials to do whatever was deemed necessary to lift the land freeze in order to tap this valuable resource. This meant expediting settlement of these claims in order to obtain lawful access to land and resources alike. The Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, ANCSA, was signed into law on December 18, 1971, and awarded Alaska Native regional and village corporations title to 44 million acres of land, and paid $962.5 million, in part to help fund the new corporations. It provided for the formation of 13 regional, 4 urban, and over 200 village Native corporations. Dewey Hoffman is an Athabascan, whose family comes from Ruby, Alaska. He is a member and shareholder of Doi Unlimited, one of Alaska's 13 regional Native corporations.
Kathliasa uza dehun gesaka hetla Dewey Hoffman seasni, tlau lora hutsaan sadansalit dehun Anchorage Lado. Sadethnaka D. Olin yeth David Hoffman Helan, Danae Lan, Benzikta Hutana Islan, Ina A. Badethnaka Lillian Olin yeth Fred Olin, Rala Ina A. Badethnaka John yeth Lorraine Honey Helan, Ita A. George Hoffman yeth Helen Hoffman Helan, Danaka Chado Cholige Ech. And I said, my name is Dewey Hoffman, I'm from Ruby. My parents are D. Olin and David Hoffman. I'm Koyakon and Swiss. And on my mom's side, my maternal grandparents are the late Fred and Lillian Olin, and also John and Lorraine Honey. On my mom's side, it's Fred and Helen Hoffman, and they're from Montana. So I'm Koyukon Athabascan on my mom's side, and I'm Swiss American on my dad's side. And I live here in Anchorage. What I've learned about the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act is how it's really a very recent piece of major legislation that has created an intensive amount of change over a short period of time. So my grandparents' generation, they were raised in the 1930s here in Alaska before it became a state. My mom was raised and born right around the time Alaska became a state, and I was born and raised about 30 years into statehood. What's unique about ANCSA is you can talk to a lot of people today who were directly involved with it. All of the experts who promoted policy and advocated for change are still around, and they're still giving lectures, and they're still out in the community. There's several books that have been authored on the topic, and I'm constantly learning about how it really influenced the state. One of the things that I've learned and what I've come to realize is how Alaska Native peoples gaining economic power and prosperity, even if it's a small group of Alaska Natives, that's influenced the state as a whole to view Alaska Natives with a different perspective. When ANCSA passed and these organizations were starting to come together back in the early 70s, I think a lot of people expected them to fail. They're going to throw money at this group of natives and hope that they spend down and then go away. Well, 40 years later, we know that that didn't happen. Some organizations weren't as successful as others, but now they're multi-billion-dollar corporations. Through Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, there's been really a lot of growth and I would even say empowerment locally and statewide for Native people. 40 years ago, when legislators passed this act, probably not very many people thought they would be successful. And while some village corporations and even some regional corporations have not fared as successfully as others, they're really the economic powerhouse in the state in terms of outright corporate functions. A lot of the top Alaska Native corporations are the top corporations in the state out of all of them. Alaska Native business leaders are now viewed as partners and affiliates, and they're people that are really working hard to be up to speed and to be competitive in the business world. I can't speak for the whole state, but I can speak for my own experience. I'm a shareholder in Doyon Limited. I have 100 shares in one of the 12 in-state regional corporations. My class of stock will disintegrate when I die and go back into the main holdings. How I understand Doyon to be different than Walmart or any other major corporation is that there is a social mission attached to the work that's done. So part of the revenue that comes in through drilling or natural gas exploration or any number of contracts that they do, some of that money is funneled into scholarships through the nonprofit affiliate. It's called Doyon Foundation. And there's also a recent initiative to promote Alaska Native languages and Athabascan languages through the corporation. Now I know that there's a lot of thought that goes into the way that decisions are made at the board level and the way that programs are run, and how there really is kind of a tie with our Alaska Native values or Athabascan values and the way that the organization is run.
Not only do Alaska Native leaders have to manage modern Native corporations, they must also operate within their local, tribal, and traditional governments.
As I mentioned, I'm from the village of Ruby. It's a small community of about 170 people year-round. During the summer, it gets a little bit larger. In Ruby, we have Daniga Corporation, which is the village corporation, and we have the Ruby Tribe, which is the IRA, a traditional council. And so those two organizations based in Ruby work both with the regional consortium of tribes, which is based in Fairbanks. It's called the Tanana Chiefs Conference, and also the regional corporation for the interior, which is called Doyon Limited. I'm enrolled in Doyon through my mom, so I have 100 shares of stock with Doyon Limited. And there's also the state of Alaska as a government and the federal government. So as you can see, that's at least 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of governance that one single person is intersecting with.
When you speak with Alaska Natives about life today, the topic quickly turns to traditional hunting and gathering, which is an economic necessity in most Alaska villages.
So as I mentioned before, my mom's side is from Ruby, which is a very small village on the central Yukon. And we would go there in the summertime to spend time with my mom's family. And 20 miles upriver from Ruby is our fish camp, which we call Big Eddy. And a lot of what happens at Big Eddy is my Grandpa John would get up super early and go check his nets and his fish wheel. A fish wheel is a device that helps us catch fish during the heaviest runs of salmon. And it's basically a floating basket that spins around with the current and scoops up fish. And you catch it, you check it several times a day. And the men go out and gather the fish, and the women cut it up, and then it gets hung up in the smokehouse. It takes about 2 weeks to make dry strips.
Many rural communities have economies that are considered mixed economies, where cash income is supplemented by subsistence harvesting of local resources. Local foods from sources close at hand are often cheaper and healthier than foods brought in from elsewhere.
When I was growing up, we'd go out to Ruby, and my Grandpa John would be running our fish camp, which is about 20 miles upriver from the village. And seeing what he would do to prepare all year to get ready for fishing, it was kind of a mixed economy. So he would, during the summertime, fish and sell some of the fish he made into strips and eggs, and then use that to support other hunting and fishing throughout the year. So it was as if he would use modern economy to keep on hunting and fishing the way he had always done. And it's just kind of a cyclical process that goes back and forth between modern cash economy and hunting and fishing. So it's a mixture. It's not any one way, and a lot of families that I work with here will also tell you that while they live and work in Anchorage and pay their electric bill and pay their gas bill, they make an effort to go fishing either back home or as close as Kenai for the open season, and try and instill those same values of sharing and working together.
Events and activities surrounding these traditional harvests are also a way to honor the elders, as their wisdom and stories establish the foundation for the next generation's cultural survival.
Next month, I'll be going back home for my Grandma Lillian's memorial potlatch, and that's to celebrate the community helping us get through when she passed 3 years ago. So what we do is we have singing and dancing and feasting all week, and then at the end we have a big giveaway where our family will give away everything from rifles all the way to tea towels and useful household items. And that's part of what we do to keep our community strong.
Today, Alaska Native hunters and fishers use modern tools such as rifles and snow machines. However, these subsistence activities still require extensive knowledge of the land and the environment. It is important for this knowledge to be passed on to younger generations.
As successful in the Western world of economics and finance and business as it is to be successful traditionally with hunting and fishing and Alaska Native dancing and sewing and beading and some of the other things we practice as Native people. And whereas some people think they kind of compete against each other, I think that they go hand in hand. So me, when I go fishing in the summertime, and when I'm able to use part of my paycheck, or you could even say part of my Doyon dividend to gather food, it's kind of intertwined, and It's part of the way that Alaska Native people today function in those, I guess, separate societies. I'd encourage you guys to learn more and to ask questions and to really think about who you can connect with, who works with these organizations and can provide relevant examples.